All right, Hayden, we are in quiz 22. Let me get my pen for us. Here we go. Quiz 22. Let's start with number 1. The big jar of nickels and dimes contained $30. So this statement right here, it tells us the value of the number of nickels and dimes that we have. We know the value of a nickel is 5 cents. So 5 times however many nickels we have, the number of nickels, plus dimes, 10 times the number of dimes, is going to equal $30. And because we wrote these values without decimals, we're going to write $30 without decimals. And if we write $30 without decimals, then that means we write 3,000. Okay, now if we wanted to use the decimal place for change, we would have to put the decimal place here, and we'd have to put 0.05 here, because that's 5 cents when we use the decimal value, right? We would have to write it like this: 0.05 plus 0.10 would equal 30.00, right? But to get rid of that, right, we undo that so that we don't have to deal with decimals by multiplying everything by the number of decimal places. So that'd be 100. 100 times this would be this. 100 times this would be this. And then 100 times this would be this. We're writing everything without a decimal place. We're writing it in penny value. That's what we're doing. So 5 pennies, 10 pennies, 3,000 pennies. That's what we're doing so that we don't have to deal with decimals. Yeah, I just want you to understand where those numbers come from and why we don't write 30, why we write 3,000 instead. That is the reason. Okay, this is our value statement. Now you're going to make a quantity statement. So you're always going to write 2 statements: a quantity statement or equation, let's say quantity equation, and a value equation. That is our first step always, is to look for those 2 types of equations. So we have our value. Now we're going to look for our quantity, and it tells us our quantity here. It says there's 500 coins, and we know that those coins are nickels and dimes. So the number of nickels plus the number of dimes is equal to 500. So this is our quantity statement. This is our value statement, and we are going to use substitution, because it's the easiest thing to do, in order to solve. In order to do substitution, I'm going to subtract one of these. So I'm just going to take away the number of dimes from both sides. So my substitution value for the number of nickels is 500 minus the number of dimes, which stands to reason, if you think about it logically, if both of them added together is 500, then 500 minus one of them gives you the other one. That's what we're doing. So I am going to use this expression, because this is what the number of nickels equals, to substitute in for the number of nickels. So 5 times 500 minus the number of dimes plus 10 times the number of dimes is equal to 3,000. I just substituted that in here, right? Just like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the distribution. 5 times 500 is 2,500. 5 times negative ND is a -5 number of dimes, plus 10 number of dimes equals, I forgot a 0, 3,000. Okay, I'm going to subtract this and combine these. So minus 2,500 from both sides. This cancels, and if I take -5 from +10, I'm left with a +5 times the number of dimes, and 3,000 minus 2,500 is 500. So if I divide both sides by 5, because you have 5 times the number of dimes, so if we divide by the same number we multiply by, they cancel each other out. So we have the number of dimes is equal to 500 divided by 5 is 100. So now I can go back in here. Actually, I just have to go right here to find the number of nickels. That's going to be 500 minus the number of dimes, which is 100, which equals 400. So the number of nickels is 400. 100 dimes, 400 nickels. Okay, so your first step is to create a quantity equation and a value equation. We did that here and here. Your second step is to create either substitution value or to create some type of elimination combination. When we have the quantity and the value, it's so much easier to do the substitution. So we're going to create substitution most of the time. Substitution. I'm better at math than spelling. Create substitution equation. And all you have to do to create a substitution equation is to find the value of one of these. It doesn't matter which one. Just find the value of one of these, and then you'll use it to sub in, and then find the value of the other one. Then you just turn around and sub this in to find the value of the one you subbed to start with. Create a substitution equation, and then substitute to solve for both. That's it, 3 steps. It's more than 3 steps when you do the math, but it's 3 organized steps. There's more than one action for each step, but you get there, right? So quantity equation, value equation, then you create a substitution equation from the quantity statement. Okay, you're always going to use that quantity statement to create your substitution value. So I should underline that. Then you're going to use that quantity substitution to solve by putting it into the value. All right, actually, let me adjust this for you. I'm going to say, well, come on. Here, I'm going to say, or illustrate it as substitute into the value. And then finally use the new value to sub into the substitution, the quantity substitution. So we used the new value that we found for the number of dimes to substitute into the quantity sub equation. This is the equation that we used to sub in the quantity into the value statement so that we could find the other one. All right, and that should give you both values. All right, let's look at the next one for quiz 22. All right, so this is the answer you gave me. You typed in a 1 because you didn't know what you were doing. It's not acceptable, by the way. You should just leave it blank instead of trying to answer it. All right, so see if I can. That's as far as it's going to let me go. Okay, so an urn contains 9 gray marbles. So we've got 9 gray, and 10 purple. Okay, so it means we have 19 total. Ryan chooses 1 marble randomly and then another marble randomly. What is the probability that he picks 2 purple marbles if he replaces the first? So probability with replacement that it's going to be purple is this. If he, there's 10 purple out of 19 total. So the first time he draws a purple, it's going to be 10 out of 19. with replacement means he puts the marble back in, so the quantities remain the same. So then that's going to be another 10 times 19. So that's going to be 100, because 10 times 10 is 100. And I don't know what 19 times 19 is, so let's just figure that out. 361. So it's going to be 100 over 361. Okay? So that's the first one. So 100 over 361 is the answer to the first one. The second one says he does not replace the first marble. So that is probability without replacement for purple, purple. Okay, so the first draw is going to be the same, 10 over 19, because the quantities remain the same. But then on the second draw, he's not putting the first marble back. So we're going to subtract one of those. So that means he's still got 9 gray, but now he's got 9 purple. So that's going to be 18 total marbles. So now when he draws the second purple marble, it's 9 out of 18. So 10 times 9 is going to be 90. And then 19 times 18, I don't know what that is. That's 342. Pretty confident that I can reduce this down by 9. So that would be 90 divided by 9 is 10. And 342 divided by 9 is 38. We can reduce that even more because 10 divided by 2 is 5 and 38 divided by 2 is 19. So 5 out of 19. That is our shot. That's our probability that if we don't replace the first marble, he's going to draw, that he'll draw 2 purples. 5 out of 19 chances he'll draw 2 purples if he doesn't put that first one back. All right, that's how you do those types of problems. Let's do the next one. All right, the sum of 4 numbers is 411.6. So we have A plus B plus C plus D is equal to 411.6. 2 of the numbers are 20.4 and 270.5. Find the average of the 4 numbers. Do we really care what 2 of the numbers are if we're looking for the average? No. That is extra information that we don't need. This is totally unnecessary because we're supposed to find the average. And when we have 4 numbers and they're given the sum, all we have to do is divide that by 4 to get the average. So we just take that number, 411.6, and divide it by 4. It's a trick question. It was trying to get you to do something with these. I don't know what you would do. So 102.9. That's your answer. Just like that. It doesn't matter though. We didn't care what the individual numbers were if we're looking for the average. We just have to divide by 4 to find the average. All right, let's look at the next one. Okay, the salesperson reduced the price by 18% to sell the car for $6,560. What was the car's original price? So there's a couple of different ways that you could solve this problem. You could use a proportion statement, which would be reasonable. You could also you could also set it up as a P times A equals B. But we don't have P. So we do. We have the percent. So we could say P times A equals B. Percent is the amount that we are taking of this number to give us the final number. So the final number is the sales price, the car, $6,560. when we take 18% off. So if we take 18% away from the original price, then that's going to be 82% that remains. This is going to be 82% of the price because we took 18% off. Okay, so that means 82% of the original price, A, is equal to $6,560. So we put this in decimal form. 0.82 times A is equal to 6560, and then we divide by 0.82 on both sides. This cancels. That means the original price is going to be this value. And I'm just going to pull up my calculator and say 6560 divided by 0.82 is 8,000. All right, that is one way to do the problem. And if you notice, it's very quick. It doesn't require very much setup. The other way to do the problem is to use your proportion table. And that would be kind of help you wrap your head around it just a little bit more. You would have your percent, and then you'd have your dollar amount. And you would have the total price, and you would have the sale price, and then you'd have the discount. We know the discount percent is 18, and the total price, or the total percent, would be 100. So the sale price has to be 82, because 100 minus 18 is 82. That kind of helps you see what's going on, right? This is the total. The sale price is $6,560. This is what we don't know. This is our proportion. 82 over 100 is equal to 6560 over x. So 82x is equal to 6560 times 100. So we add 2 more zeros to it. Divide both sides by 82. Guess what? X is still 8,000. If you don't trust me, I'll go ahead and do it. 6560 times 100, 0, divided by 82 is 8,000. So either way works. You can use the percent times a number equals another number, or you can use your table where you line everything up and you can see what's happening with the addition of the, like, to get here, you had to use logic. To get here again, you just had to use the table. The table is doing the exact same thing that we did when we said 100 minus 18 is 82, which is the amount that you're actually paying for the car, because the 82 was the reduced price, the discount. That's the amount that was taken off. Okay, so 8,000 would be your answer. So you've got to think about what it is that you're doing. You've got to think about the process and logic through, you know, and for that purpose, the table works better. Because if you had done it the other way, P times A equals B, you've got to think about what's going on and to get to the 82%. Here, it just kind of happens because you're like, oh, well, to get to 100, this has to be 82 because we know we add the two together, the discount percentage and then what it's sold for percentage, right? So it just kind of, it works. You have to really be paying attention when you do this method. So either way, you're going to get the same answer. Depends on how your brain works. Which way do you see? Which way connects for you? Okay? Think about it. Next problem. All right, this one says the basketball team practiced 3 free throws for 10 minutes, which is awesome. Good for them, right? The number of successful free throws per team member were as follows. So there's our number of successful free throws. We're going to create a stem and leaf plot below. So I have 10s, 20s. That's all I have is 10s and 20s. So we'll have 10s and I'll have 20s. So what I need to do is look at my numbers in the tens. I got 17, I got 18, I got 19, and I got 17 again. So it'd be 7, 7, 8, 9. Okay? That takes off that one, that one, that one, and that one. Now what do I have? My lowest number is 21, so I have 1. I have 22. I have 24. I have 27 twice and 28. So 2 7s and an 8. That is a stem and leaf plot of those numbers. Okay? All it's doing is it's taking all those numbers and organizing them. These are all the teens and these are all the 20s. That's all it is. So let's see what else it was asking. Okay, so it wants to know the range. So the range is the distance that, or the number of spaces that your data covers on the number line. And the way you get there is by saying the highest number minus the lowest number. Well, the highest number is the last number that you've written, which is 28. The lowest number is the first number you've written, which is 17. So 28 minus 17 is 11. That's your range. Your range is 11. Let's see what else it's asking for. All right, so it also wants the mode. Your mode is the number that's used the most. Well, we've got 7 twice in here and 7 twice in here. So 17 and 27 are your modes. There's 2 of them. Now your median is the number in the middle. Now I know these are not in order, so put them in the right spot whenever you type them in. Your median is the number in the middle. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers. So if you have an even number of numbers, there's no middle number. So you take the 2 numbers that fall to either side, which would be number 5 and number 6. So it'd be this one and this one. You add them together, 21 plus 22, and then you divide by 2. That's going to be 43 divided by 2, which is going to be 21.5. So 21.5 is your median. And finally, it wanted the mean. I think it wanted the mean up here somewhere. But your mean, that's just another word for average. So we add up all the numbers and then we divide by the quantity of numbers. So we've got 17 twice. So 2 times 17 plus 18 plus 19 plus 21 plus 22 plus 24 plus 2 times 27 plus 28. And there's 10 numbers. So we just put all that in the calculator. 17 plus 17 plus 18 plus 19 plus 21 plus 22 plus 24 plus 27 plus 27 again plus 28. It's 220. So 220 divided by 10 is 22. So that would be your mean. All right. Let's look at the next one. All right, so I already gave you number 10 in a previous video. So this is another one. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to set this up. And in order to set this up, we have to look at the descending order. We're missing x squared, so we have to add a place in for that. So we'd say 7x cubed plus 0x squared. We have to have a place for it. Minus 5x minus 3. Now we have all of the x values in descending order. Now we divide by x minus 2. So x times what gives us 7x cubed? That'd be 7x squared. This times this gives us 7x cubed. Now we turn around and multiply that by negative 2. That'd be negative 14x x squared. That's why we had to have a place for that, so we could put it underneath the right spot. Now we're going to change the signs so we can subtract. These would cancel. This becomes 14x squared. Bring down the 5x. X times what gives us 14x squared? Well, that'd be 14x. 14x times x is 14x squared. And 14x times negative 2 is negative 28x. Change the signs to subtract. These cancel. This becomes 23x. Bring down the negative 3. X times what gives us 23x? X times 23. So 23 times x gives us 23x. And 23 times negative 2 is a negative 46. Change the sign to subtract. This cancels. Negative 3 and positive 46 is a positive 43. We have no other numbers, so it's plus, because it's positive, 43 over x minus 2. And this would be your answer. All right, next problem. All right, so this problem asks us to find the domain and range. I'm going to wipe that out just so we don't cheat a little bit. You want to be able to, let me erase that. We want to be able to do that all by ourselves. Let me get rid of this little 1 right here. That's where it goes. I want to show you how to get the answer, not just give you the answer. Okay, so domain is your x-axis, right? That's why there's an x here. Your range is your y-axis. That's why there's a y here. So the domain is just your x values. So we're going to just kind of squish this down to the x-axis. This is a filled-in circle on the negative 2. And this is an open circle on the positive 5. We just write that graph. And that graph is that negative 2 is less than or equal to x. X is the line. This circle that's filled in means it's equal to. And then 5, it's less than 5. Because this circle is not filled in, there's no equal to sign under it. So negative 2 less than or equal to x, which is less than 5. And that just means x lives between those two numbers, and it could be negative 2. Now we look at the y-axis. I'm going to switch to the red so we can see it better. The y-axis is the range. So we do the same thing, only we squish everything to the y-axis. So if I bring this over to the y-axis, it's a filled-in circle. And then here, I squish this over to the y-axis, it's an open circle on the 3. And the line lives, or the x values live in between. So I'm going to go from least to greatest. So that's a negative 2 again. And it's filled in, so that's less than or equal to. This is a y. And then you have a positive 3 that's open, it's not included, so that just means less than 3. That's all you have to do. You just take what's here and press it back, put it in its place, take this here, press it back to the y-axis, and then draw your line between and write the conjunction that represents that. Okay? All right, let's do the next one. All right, so this one says to find the equation of the line for lines A and B. So here, line A. All right, we have a point on the y-axis. It's a positive 3. No, that's a positive 5. And there is no slope. So there's a 0 slope. So if you stay true to y is equal to mx plus b, we know that the plus b is where it lives on the y-axis. So that would be 5, right? Positive 5. And when it's flat, it has no slope. So 0 times x. What is 0 times x? It's 0. So it goes away. So all we have, this cancels, is y is equal to 5. And that's what A is. Y is equal to 5. So let's look at B. Again, we have y is equal to mx plus b. This is a slope, and this is the y-intercept point. So the y-intercept point here is a positive 1. So it's plus 1. Y is equal to the slope times x plus 1. So to find the slope, we just count. So we have 1 down. So down 1, negative means down. And then we have to the right 2, plus 2. Because this is the positive side of the x-axis. We're going this direction. We're going towards the positive side. So negative 1 over positive 2. So negative 1 over positive 2x. So this is what the equation of the line is for B. Y is equal to negative 1 over 2x plus 1. That's your answer. Very straightforward. You don't even have to do any math. Let's look at the next one. All right, this problem asks us to factor completely. So the first thing I see is that I could take a 4 out of everything. I can also take an A out of everything. And I can also take a Z out of everything. Now when I do that, I get C squared. When I take 4AZ out of this, I just have C squared left. And when I divide this by 4 and take AZ out, I just get minus 2C. And then when I take 4AZ out of this, all that's left is a positive 1. Because 1 times 4AZ is, or 1 times 4AZ times 1 is 4AZ. So the way to check your work is to multiply this times each one of these to make sure you got the first step right. 4AZ times C squared would give me 4AZC squared. 4AZ times negative 2C gives me negative 8AZC. And then 4AZ times a positive 1 gives me 4AZ. So this is correct. Now we're going to factor this. Okay? Now the factors of positive 1 that give me a negative 2 is negative 1 times negative 1, right? So I'm going to say 4AZ times, this can be factored into two binomials. The only way to get C squared is C times C, and then this is minus 1. So whenever I multiply these, I get C times C is C squared, and C times negative 1 is negative 1C, and then negative 1 times C is negative 1C. We put C squared right here. And then negative 1 times negative 1 is a positive 1. So it gives me C squared minus 2C plus 1, which is what we have right here, okay? So I know I factored that correctly because I checked by multiplying it. I checked my work to make sure I had it right. So this is what you would put in for the factors. 4AZ, C minus 1, C minus 1, and these two can be in parentheses. Next problem. All right, number 17 says to solve by graphing. So all we have to do is graph the two lines, see where they intersect, and that's our answer. So the first line, I'm going to do it in blue, negative 2, that would be negative 1, negative 2. That's where it intersects the y-axis. And the slope is negative 2. So that means negative 2 over 1. So down 2 over 1. So down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. Okay, so there's my slope. So I can draw my line with that slope. There we go. That looks pretty close. Now I'm going to do my other line. Let's do it in red. So x plus 4. So positive 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's 1x, the invisible 1. So that's 1 over 1. So that's up 1 over 1. Okay, so up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So that's going to be my slope. So I'm going to draw my line. Until I see them intersect. And if I were to redraw that first line in the right spot, they would intersect right here. So be very careful. You will do a better job on your paper. If you have graph paper, use that. Because then you can put a little ruler there and your lines will be much more accurate than me trying to draw this on the screen. Okay? I promise you that. Let me see if I can adjust this line, if it'll let me. Nope. It's not gonna let me adjust the line. Anyway, this point is -2, +2. That would be my answer, right? The answer is -2, +2. That's what you would type in, just like that, in parentheses, for the answer to number 17. Let's look at the next one. All right, this one says to evaluate if b minus 6 equals 30 and a equals b divided by 6. So that tells me that I've got to solve some of these to find the values of a and b. So if b minus 6 equals 30, if I add 6 to both sides, that sounded really country, didn't it? B is equal to 36. So now I have my value for b. Now I got to find the value for a. So I'm going to sub in the value for b. So a is equal to b over 6. A is equal to b is equal to 36. So 36 over 6. 36 divided by 6 is 6. So now a is equal to 6. So I'm going to put in 36 for b and 6 for a. So negative, and then I'm going to put my value of b is 36 plus or minus square root of 36 squared over 2 times 6. Okay, so that's going to be a negative 36 plus or minus. Whenever you undo a squared number, they cancel each other out when you unsquare a squared number. So that's just going to be 36 over 2 times 6, which is 12. So now we can solve for the plus and then the minus. So that's going to be negative 36 plus 36 would equal 0 divided by 12, which is equal to 0. If we do it the other way, we have negative 36 minus 36. That's going to be negative 72 over 12, which is equal to negative 6. So our answer is 0 or negative 6. And I think you have two options there. Yes, you had two blanks to type in for that number. So you would have typed in a 0 and a negative 6 and you've been right. Next problem. All right, so we had to find the area of this trapezoid. Dimensions are in inches. So the way we find the area of a trapezoid is to turn it into two triangles. So we draw a line from this corner all the way to that corner, okay? So it gives us triangle 1 and triangle 2. So we find the area of triangle 1, and that's going to be, it's got a base of 8 and a height of 5. So 8 times 5, and those are both inches, divided by 2. 8 times 5 is 40, divided by 2 is 20. So 20 inches squared for the first triangle. Second triangle is 14 inches base and 5 inches height. So 14 inches times 5 inches divided by 2. And that is going to be 14 times 5 is 70, divided by 2 is 35 inches square. If I add triangle 1 and triangle 2 together to get the total area of the trapezoid, I would get 55 inches square. And that would be your answer. All right, last problem. All right, here we're supposed to find the surface area of the right circular cone whose base has a radius of 8 meters. And it tells us that the surface area is equal to the area of the base plus the lateral surface area. The only thing we don't have is a lateral surface area formula. So, well, actually we do. I gave it to you, just like I gave you the area of the base. So let's find the area of the base first. Area of the base is a circle. So we know to find the area of the base, we got to do pi r square, which is going to be pi times 8 meters by 8 meters. 8 times 8 is 64. 64 times pi meters square. That is the area of the base. So we put that in here. Plus, now we got to find the lateral surface area. Lateral surface area, the LSA of the cone, is equal to pi r L. And the L is the slant height. That is the slope part here, or the hypotenuse of the axis and the radius. So that's given to us, and it's 10. So that's going to be pi times the radius of 8 meters times the slant height of 10 meters. And that is equal to 8 times 10 is 80 pi meters square. So now we just have to put that in. 80 pi meters square. We just add these two together. 64 plus 80 is 144 times pi meters square. Done. That's your final answer. All right, it tells you to serve in terms of pi. That means don't put in 3.14. Leave it. Leave it as pi. We want to know the relationship of the coefficient to the symbol pi. So we don't calculate pi. Whenever you see it say this, you don't calculate pi. Okay? You just leave it as the symbol. And that's all of quiz 22. I'm going to look at 115 and 116 next.